Well, the sand situation is kind of not improving, but again, we're going to get somewhere eventually. I'm just kind of testing some of this stuff over here that we dumped into the ocean to see if there's any sand underneath of it, but so far it kind of looks a little minuscule. Hello, everybody. This is Frogman. Welcome back to Captive Industry. Last time we had a little bit of fun, and I do apologize for not being able to record all the silliness that was going on. I was a little preoccupied trying to make sure that we weren't going to go into a massive death spiral because of a couple of little things. And it wasn't that bad. It's just that, you know, how things go. We are going to have to start mining this little bit up right here. There is a lot of sand kind of still sitting in the bottom here. But as we can see, this hole that we set up, I don't know how many episodes ago, like 5 or 6 or 10, something like that, has been eaten up. The factory is consuming sand by the absolute truck and train load to the point that I had to do a little bit of goofing around over here. The ore sorting plant seems to prioritize the first 2 or 3, like depending on which side it is. If you have 4 outputs like I have set right here, and I just kind of want to touch on this for a little bit because it seems a little odd, at least to me. It prioritizes the output of the first output here. Not across, it doesn't evenly split as far as I can tell across all of the outputs. So, yeah, we could just see it right there. It's kind of hard to tell, but it prioritizes this first output. If you have 2 tanks, say like 2 of these storages set up here like I had prior, and then have them connected to different outputs, it won't automatically split across all of the outputs. At least I don't see a setting anywhere in here that it will do that. So what was happening was this, I had 2 of these sitting here. I had one right here and one, well, right here connected directly to the back of it, and one connected directly to the back of it here. It was outputting to the first one, filling these first 2 little train station thingy parts, whatever it is, and then not filling the other 2. So we were not filling train cars up completely full like I wished. Now the issue is still happening because this thing is prioritizing the output over to here, but at least now they're all, well, filled, and I'm just going to have to kind of play around with it. But yes, this is going to be something we're going to have to fiddle around with. I'm just kind of having a little bit of fun just to see what was over here because I did build a kind of a seawall. And I don't think we're going to continue too much further this direction, although you never know. We'll have to probably work on this as we go. So just a little short segue into that. I know that we had a kind of a crazy little mess happen that it was mainly due to the fact that happened, the coal started acting up, and I had a little bit of a backup that happened over here, mainly because we were not producing enough water. So one of the things I did do in between episodes is I advanced this out to the max amount of water that we are going to need. Now that we know, and again, this is one of those deals where I have not turned this on, and I suppose while I'm at it, I should just go ahead and do this. Fellas, can you please tear that out to about there? Please. Thank you. And we'll take that pipe and that pipe too, because I do not like just whatever pipes, and we'll clean that up. It's fine. All of that needs to go away because the next sized reactor, or the Reactor Mark II, let's click on the button here, can produce 384 steam. 384 steam is approximately what we are making over here, which means this is designed especially, or say basically, I built this one system over here specifically so that we could use the total amount of the megawatts that you are allowed to have on a one inertia line, or one line here. The max you can have is 72 megawatts. 72 megawatts is 384 steam. 384. The thing is, well, excuse me, 72 megawatts. 144 megawatts is 300 and, well, it's not even in this one, 384 steam. Get your brain sorted. Just about got enough coffee in this morning to make myself understand what the heck is going on. So what we need to do then is I would like to copy this line right there all the way through to about there, and then we'll repipe that and all that wonderfulness once the time comes. I'm going to do, okay, you didn't grab the pipes, good. I just didn't want that to grab the pipes. We're going to be making 2 sets of these per each one of these. Now the reason why I'm cutting that up, actually I should go one further. I need to grab that one. So let's grab all of those all the way to there. I think I probably should grab the other side. Hang on a minute. Let's grab this one because I need at least need the exhaust pointed this way and the intake pointed on the other side. Yeah, we need this 1. Control C. So essentially what we're going to be able to do with a nuclear reactor Mark II is be able to run 2. Basically, it's going to be able to replace all of the production here with, you know, a reactor. So we're going to do something kind of like so. I'm going to have to clean those pipes up. That is fine. Output out, output in. Hold shift, go, and go. So that when we upgrade this one, which I'm just going to go ahead and tell it to do it, we'll be able to upgrade this whole line and then safely shut down this reactor so that we can then shut down the power generation that's over here. So we'll let them figure that out. We need to delete 1, 2, 3, and I will go ahead and just boink those out of existence. Okay, cool. And then the exhaust. The reason why we had to do this is because the thing is really kind of annoying. This and this are not the same length. The low pressure turbine is a block longer. So, I mean, you can't really cut things up and move things around. So when you do this, you're going to have to tear, especially when we overdo this one, we're going to have to tear all of the majority of the piping out to make it function the way we need it to function. So let me repipe all this while they build that, and then we'll be able to turn this reactor on, get it going so that we can start working on this mess of stuff that we need to seriously get after, because we've got 1,000 waste spent fuel, I suppose, that we need to start putting to work. So let me get this going and then we'll get this built. Alrighty then, I think looking at everything, that should be ready to go. Pipes are all the way down and connected. Connected. We're going to go ahead and run actually what I think I might go ahead and do. We're currently sipping on about 90 megawatts of power continuously right now. 4 of these make what? It's 15? 60. So I think what we will do is, for the time being, since we're going to be moving over to this particular reactor, I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and just delete those out, and I'm going to set these to the lowest a low priority, so like say 4, before we get all excited. And what these are going to do is they're just going to run no matter what. There is no reason to waste flywheel energy on them. That's cool. That's fine with me. Go ahead and unpause all of that. So we're always consuming, at least right now, at least 60 megawatts of power. And as things go up in scope, as we continue to use more and more power, we will be going ahead and setting more and more of the generators to a lower priority so they run all the time. And then we'll be just removing the flywheels. But for now, I think what I'm going to do is we'll do a set priority like that, and then we'll do a set priority of 5, I suppose, is a good one on those numbers. So you do that, and then they can decide what they want to do. And then these guys are going to be let run there for now. So that means once these are all up and built, we'll be able to turn these on and then safely shut this down. So I think what I might actually do is we might transition off power since we have this running over here right now. And we'll let them build all that first. And then what we'll do is we'll transition off power. I just want to make sure that before I hit and see, like, we have to turn it off in order to upgrade it. So in order to turn it off, we have to be careful about things. Now, one of the things we don't have to do, and I guess it's kind of one of those things I keep thinking about, is that I don't have to dump the fuel out of it. I just need to turn it off safely. So let's get this built, and then we can turn it off, hopefully. Okay, so yeah, the reason why I want to shut one off and then turn the other one on is because of this is going to need to be able to burn out its steam, and I don't need to be making power with this new system until we're ready to go. Once we have one of these nuke reactor 2s up, which I do need to look at here very quickly, and we'll talk about in a second. Once we have one up, then we can turn up as many of the other ones as we want. And later on down the road, we're going to be getting into some other things that we're going to have a little bit more fun with. There's actually better reactors that'll make a little bit more power, lacks a lot more power. So we'll get to that point. I'm not expecting to, just depending on how we're going to do things, I'm not expecting on probably running more than, say, 4 total reactors, but we shall see how we do. Anyhow, let's see. Okay, so these guys should be able to transition on. They've got their power up, so let's turn you down. When you're turning these things down, do not grab that slider and slam it all the way to the bottom. Notice how we're making a little bit of steam right now. We're running the power. This is the main reactor, this is the main power system, and this will run however we go. So what we want to do is we want to step down carefully so that this stays under that red line. The reasoning why is because it will off-gas steam out of its little thing that is, or whatever, I love these ghosts, sometimes they do it. It will off-gas the excess coolant as it goes down, and you don't really want it to do that. I mean, it's not going to hurt it. That's how the system will function, but you want to be careful when you're turning this thing down. Because if you go from here to there, that's going to way overheat it, and it might freak out a little bit. Kind of want to let that dribble down a little more. We're not making enough steam anymore to be able to run all these turbines, which is perfectly fine, and then off. And then that's going to send it all the way down to a power level of 0, which will theoretically shut it off. And it is no longer cooking water into steam. Beautiful. And just for the hopefulness of that, I'm going to make sure I don't screw it up and pause it. All right, so we should now be running fully on the coal power over here, which means these should be doing a decent amount of work. Okay, cool. I guess now, since we did all that, let's find out whether or not this is going to work. I'm pretty certain I have everything hooked up correctly for the time being. I just want to check some lines. I really need to actually upgrade these belts. There is a reason why I am using I should have been using the high-end belts. The fastest belts is because they have the fastest distance travel speed through space. So this belt travels at a 2 tiles a second versus, like, say, this one, which travels at 1 tile a second, and the blues, I believe, travel at 1.5 tiles a second, something like that. Yeah, 1.5 tiles a second. So regardless of the distance and regardless of the fact that this is going to be, not carrying a lot of stuff, I want to be moving what is going to be reasonably radioactive to its storage or its processing facility as quickly as possible. Now, the one thing that does kind of cause a problem with that in here is that this flat conveyor 3 that's up here right now, that we will be moving a few things out of here when I'm talking about this, I'm probably going to go ahead and set this to a flat conveyor 1 for now. And I know that sounds kind of dumb because it's going to take it forever to get stuff down there, but a flat conveyor 1 can only hold 60, I think it's 60 per section or whatever it is, versus what this belt can hold. This one can hold a whole heck of a lot of stuff. So if you're reprocessing things, or like what we're going to have to do here in a second, I want to kind of say that I'm just getting rid of the parts very quickly. So I need to do that again here to that. Just for now. I mean, I don't like doing that, but the spent fuel is not very reactive compared to, well, very radioactive compared to, say, this stuff or the spent stuff. So we'll get after it. So anyhow, sidetrack. Let's go ahead and light this new reactor Mark II up. I want to first make sure that when we're talking about this is the reason why you want to go to these. Not because of the fact that they can make double or, well, a third more steam than the basic ones, is the fact that they are now allowed to be able to auto-regulate using a little bit of your computing. So this is going to be one of those things that you're going to always want to make sure that you do, is you have at least the teraflops to spare up here to keep this thing happy. Now, in the very near future, we're probably going to be building a little bit more computing because we're going to need a little bit more computing. But just understand that you need to keep a surplus of computing to keep this thing happy. What it's going to do now is it's going to listen to this auto balance stuff here. And I think one of these might be, I need to actually make sure. Let's check, make sure we have all of those set correctly. Click. Hang on. I just want to make sure they're all set on auto balance and done in case. Even the ones that are down here. I mean, I suppose the ones down here, no, we don't want them auto balance. We want them to run constantly. So there we go. That way it can listen to these. If these need to turn on and off, it will then understand that it's going to get a backflow of steam in here and automatically turn the power level down. So we should have plenty of uranium rods going. Why don't you just wind that thing all the way open and unpause it and see what she does? So as these spin up, it did set you guys to 4 and 5, right? Okay, good. How are we doing over here? Did you guys stop? All right, good. So what we're going to see then is that this row is going to stay running all of the time, no matter what, which will help to make sure that the steam is used up in this machine all the time, because we're going to be burning this no matter what, at least 60 megawatts all the time currently. And then we'll be able to offload a little bit of this onto here occasionally and do what it's doing. Good. So that's going to function. Now, what I mean by the issue here is that this reactor is going to try to understand what's going on in here, and you need to make sure your flows are correct and all of your water is leaving and everything is good, which is why I had to rebuild these, because in reality this one is going to make enough steam depleted. Excuse me, where are we? This system right here, this one side is going to make the same amount of steam depleted that this did. So that means we needed, I think, what is it? The numbers have escaped me. 16 of these thermal desalinators set on the vacuum desalination system. So we're going to be making an awful lot of water. So what we've got over here again is 32 of these guys ready to go to work doing all of the stuff that they need to do. And 32, I forget what this is going to be. It's something like 380 water, 384 water per minute. But if we take 32 of those desalinators, and this is going to help us seriously with this little system over here. So once this whole thing fires up and gets ready to go to work, we have 32 times 33. That will be 1,000. Wow. 1,056 water, of which, what is it, 384 times 2. So 1,000 minus 768 was 284 water excess that this system will produce if it's running wide open all the time. Now, that's not a guarantee that it's going to be running wide open all the time, but that should at least put a damper on this a little bit, at least once it gets going and up to spinning. All right, so is everybody happy? This is one of those things that you want to kind of turn these things on and pay attention to them and stare at it for a while, because you want to make sure, especially if it decides it wants to start thinking about melting down, that you get up here and you grab that dial and you wind it down. Just go do what we just did, you know, very slowly turn it down, because if you have a say a backup on excess steam going out of the system, or you kind of run out of water, these things will go nuclear. They will dump a massive amount of radiation poisoning into the air, and it will kill the heck out of your people. So it's just something that you need to absolutely make sure you're paying attention to. Go get us some oil. I had to change over the oil. This is one of those things that if you don't catch your oil production quick enough, you have problems. I probably should theoretically get over here and get to building some of those other deals, but all right. Okay, that's cool. This is up and working. That's the first part of this mess. I'm going to start doing the next part of this mess here in a second. I just want to make sure that everything is okay. So I will come back with you guys and we'll work on the next part of the problem. which is I'm not turning this on yet. We're going to build this first. Which one aren't you happy with? Oh, you guys. Okay. Yeah, I need to get that done. I'll be right back, guys. So with the advent of getting a nuclear reactor 2, or with the research that we did at the end of, well, towards the end of last episode, we, come on over here. We'll get a look at this really quickly. Where did it go? Nuclear reactor 2. That got us nuclear reprocessing, MOX rod, spent MOXes, and finally a way to be able to get rid of the fuel. So what we're first going to do is we're going to go ahead and unpause a bunch of this internal stuff right here. So I'm going to do this and that. And the reason why we want to do this is that we want to get our, well, I need to make sure this is unpaused. You are not allowed to exit yet. So essentially what we're going to do in here is we're going to take the spent fuel, and in a reprocessing plant, we're going to mix it with a little bit of acid, a little bit of molten glass, and that will give us some reprocessed uranium, some plutonium, and some spent fission products. So let's start with the first thing. The reprocessed uranium, processed uranium, will be added to our system over here. Did I end up putting this in? I believe I did. If I didn't, I need to fix it. See, I thought I was quite there, so we can go ahead and work on that while we're at it. So essentially what this is going to do is going to make some reprocessed uranium. The reprocessed uranium will be put into these processors, and the recipe will be moved up so that it is allowed to be reprocessed first. So I'm going to copy this guy, and I'm going to say for these, you are going to be the ones that get to do that right here. You guys are going to get to do that. That'll be the first thing. So they should concentrate on that stuff first. And again, like I said, I thought I had everything built, but again, there's always that one little belt that you tend to forget about. Anyhow, let's go ahead and unpause that. Let them build that. That's a kind of expensive little thing. Reprocessing plant is a decent amount of the purple construction parts, so we'll let them get onto that while I belt this in. All right, stuff's got belted in. Going to go ahead and build this out now. We're going to need a small amount, and this is the way this always goes, small amount of molten glass to be able to reprocess the fuel types, the spent fuel types, into other fuel types. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and use an arc furnace, and we're going to go ahead and bring some broken glass in over here, which you guys should be able to get. I think I told you to do something. Let me look over here. I did. Dang it. I thought I did that. No, I'm going to keep... No, I want you guys to keep empty if above 80 on that one, and if above 80 on that one. How much do these trucks hold? 60. So we'll just say 80 is fine. And then what we'll do there is we'll make sure that we're keeping just a little bit of molten or broken glass laying around. Come on, guys. You're not supposed to be outputting. Oh, wait a minute. I'm doing this wrong. I need output if only above 80. Cool. Okay, I need the blue marker, not that one. I was thinking that the trucks were still working. I need to get the trucks off the brain. Okay, click the button. That will start to save us a little bit of stuff. Cool. Love it, love it, love it. I know this one's not probably doing a whole heck of a lot, but it's fine. I should probably go ahead and shut those down. Oh, it doesn't really matter. All right. So they have access to both in and out. Nice. Okay. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to use that particular recipe because this particular recipe does not have a slag product that we have to babysit, and it uses less power. All right, cool. That's what I was waiting on. Get us a little bit of goodness there. I want to make sure that everything is set up in here because we need to start talking and you know, with respect, I should say, with very radioactive stuff. Now, very radioactive stuff needs to be dealt with fairly quickly. We'll start with this one. The first major thing that we're going to have to concern ourselves with, because it's going to be out and about and on the belts, is the fission products. Now, fission products, the only thing you can do with them is store them in a radioactive waste storage for 100 years, and that will turn it into retired waste. Retired waste can then be turned into some recyclables. So that's what we've got going on here. This is going to be our fission product storage, and this is as close as I can get it to these. I mean, theoretically, I could have probably built it like right in here and dealt with it, but we'll see how this all goes as it goes. If this keeps our radiation down for a reasonable amount of time, like I'm concerned what's going to happen here fairly soon, which is reasoning why I have this one belt set to a flat conveyor. One is that I don't want a massive amount of this spent fuel sitting on a belt out in the open. So spent, Whoop, don't do that. This. Spent fuel. Spent fuel has a radioactive number of 2, so it's, I think, the lowest. MOX is a 4, so we're going to try to process as much of this as possible, as quickly as possible, but as far as I know, between all of the things, so right here, radiation level, the higher the number, the more radiation is released into the area unless the fuel is safely stored. Out of all of the fuels that are, or the wastes, products, things that we're going to have to play with, spent fuel, I think, is the lowest, which is why I'm not too terribly concerned about it being all the way the heck over here. And what will happen is that once we eat up all of this one, I wanted to have this done a lot sooner than where we are right now, but once we eat up all of this and turn it into MOX fuel, which will then get burned into these reactors and then sent and turned into essentially what we're going to do is we're going to divide that number, I think, by 6 something. 8 is what we're going to be dealing with that. So every 8 of our current waste fuel here will turn into 1 of those. So 1,000, what was the number? 1,140. So that's going to turn into like 142 MOX fuel. So MOX is just going to be a way of getting rid of this waste product for now. And then what we're going to do once we have the power system, I mean both of these up and running, I'm going to fix a couple of little problems like right there. Come on, guys. You're getting there. Okay. Whoop, I'm sorry. Let's go turn the backup on for the time being. The backup is not on. You guys go ahead, unpause, and you get an export route. I thought I had this already set up to there. And you keep full. Cool. Okay. So let's go ahead and get this figured out then. We should be able to now turn on, and again, like I said, I know this is a slow belt, but again, a 60 belt, one of these 60 belts will not hold a massive amount of things on it. I think if I can grab one, maybe there's one over here. So like this can hold, in this little section right here, it can hold 10 different things. As far as this one is concerned, it can hold, I think, 18 or 20. So I believe the number that would be on a belt, like I said, if it was, I think it's halved. I think it's absolutely halved. But anyhow, that way we're not keeping so much stuff out in the air, giving us radiation problems. So I think everything's ready to go for now, and then we can possibly finish up doing this for the rest of the episode. This one might be a little long, might be a little short. I don't know. We'll see. Unpause. It's a long belt. I'd love to know how much is going to be on it. I mean, in reality, you would like to have this stored over here, but like I said, because it's not so terrible bad. So we have 1,000 of that, 1,400. So that'll take about, theoretically, 2 hours in game, I think, or an hour or so, whatever it is. So now we're making the fission products and the plutonium. Okay, so again, like I said here, I want this to be exiting the area as quickly as possible because this stuff is very radioactive. It is going to get shoved into onto a fourth, what is it, a third belt, 3-4 belt, whatever it is, and put into storage as quickly as possible. So now we have 2 of those in there. This will be next disposal in 100 years. It will work through all of that stuff. It will produce a decent amount. Everything that gets worked through will be turned into retired waste, which will be turned into scrap, which will then be put through the recycling system, and away we go. Now, that one should have dumped a whole bunch of this goodness over to here. Those will get distributed evenly across these, hopefully. Now, the product coming out of this one reprocessing plant will be enough to run 3 of these. I did put the 4th one in just in case we have a backstuff issue. But, I mean, looking down here on the belt now, I think you are full Y. Why did you not? That's interesting. You've not been running. Can I have a loose connector? Why did you do that? That's weird. Well, that's good. I'm glad I found that. So what will happen here is these 2 reactors will have the capability of eating the total production of the uranium rods that we can produce, and we'll also be able to use up all of the MOX fuel. Now, the fuels that we have are not radioactive as far as I know. So essentially what we're going to do then is whatever comes out of here is going to be delivered onto another little belt and wander all the way over to here and be put into this priority balancer so that those MOX fuels get used up first. So it just so that we can get rid of them. There is no power increase based on which one or whatever is working. There's nothing in here changes as far as which fuel you use. You're just going to want to get rid of it. The reason why you want to get rid of the MOX, again, is because it's getting rid of this by a factor of 8. You're going to be able to store an awful lot more of it, and the MOX fuel, again, if I were to go over here and look at it, we can't do it now. We'll be doing one of those probably very soon, probably one of the next researches as soon as we can get to it, which I think is space science. We'll be able to convert that into blanket fuel. Blanket fuel will be a product that we'll be able to run through a fast breeder reactor that will allow us to make more blanket fuel and make more power and a lot of neat little things. But that's a long ways down the road. Just know that it's a lot easier to store massive amounts of MOX fuel than it is to store massive amounts of this stuff. Once we get this emptied, this line that is dumping stuff out here that the reactors are going will be connected directly to that reprocessing plant, and we will never have to worry about storing it again. So let me let this run a little bit, I suppose. Where are we? What does it look like? Have we hit any of that on the belt yet? Where is it putting it? Putting it over here? Okay. I don't know. Anyhow, it is time to... I'm going to go ahead and kick that one up now that it's off. Go ahead and upgrade that. And then have them deconstruct all of this. And then I'm going to figure out what the heck is going on. I will be back with you guys in just a little bit. Which one is mad at me? Oh, that's not good. Anyhow, I figure I probably should set on one more thing before we run off and do the rest of this stuff. I went ahead and set up a oil mining system over here on this particular oil platform because we can get rid of that oil and put it into some things. So they're going to be trucking that over here to try to help keep that tank full. One of the things that happened at the end, or what should say in the middle of that episode, last episode, while I was busy trying to research the nuclear reactor 2s, was that our people decided that they wanted to start making just slightly more production of wastewater than we were capable of cleaning up. So by default under boost, this is 160, and well, I've got it on boost net for now, but it's going to be one of those deals. 180 was slowly creeping up on us to the point that it did cause a problem. It backed all of this up. We ended up making them all mad, which also tends to cause another problem where I don't know, there's just the game seems to have these built-in snowball effects that if one little thing happens, then a lot of other little things snowball into effect. Because as soon as that happened, for whatever reason, and it might have been because of the fact that I might not have had one of these recycling plants working as well, the recycling edict that we had was not either backing up or working or doing whatever, but we ended up with both too much wastewater, too much of the trash, which if we look again, the trash is backed up and I have to kick this thing back over. I don't know why it's doing this little problem. Let me look at this very quickly. Waste. We're, for whatever reason, over the last 120 some odd months, doing just fine, but it's like every once in a while it goes, nope, I'm going to just make a massive amount of waste regardless of the fact. So like right now we're producing production last 100 years, last 100 months, we're producing 153. This can produce at lowest 100 and things. So yeah, we've hit that point again where everything is just barely over the limit, which means fairly soon we're going to have to, and I mean fairly soon, I can kind of run it on some boost for now, but fairly soon we're going to have to rebuild our waste production facility now that we have some ideas on some numbers, as to be able to then be able to take care of the rest of what I have planned out for at least this little city for now. I don't know if this is going to be all that we're going to need. We may make more, we may make less, but it is for certain on the list of things that I'm going to have to do. I do plan on combining the digesters here with these digesters over here and moving this gas here into this system over here, because this is important for us to try to keep these guys burning, because they're giving us a lot of extra stuff. Good. That's what I was waiting. I was waiting on the canola to go away so that I could go over here and shut you back off. Where are you? Go. There are some things, again, that I really, really wish this game had, and that's like logic. Like once you've played a game like Factorio, or yeah, pretty much, I guess it's going to say, once you played a game like Factorio, or for that matter, some of the modded Minecraft packs that I used to play that had a lot of built-in automation that allowed you to work on limits and numbers and be able to transmit that information across the entire area to be able to turn something like this automagically on and on based on the amount of something that might be sitting in one of these, or might be sitting over here, or what are those deals, instead of manually having to continuously do that. Automation in this game would be fantastic. Circuit conditions, things and stuff like that would be great. So anyhow, I think we'll worry about this later. That might be a little short little stint into another episode. And again, we're going to have to start talking about these offices. So system has been working reasonably well. We have cooked ourselves down to almost half of what we were at, and I realized that as I was looking at all that, I did manage to forget to say something. Why are you slow? You are out of stuff. See, this was what I was concerned about. You guys were not supposed to be hauling that out of here. How are we doing? Is that making everybody sick? Not really. We're okay for right now. I need you to pause. And I need... Well, all that can stay right there. We have too much MOX on, or too much spent fuel, too much plutonium sitting on this belt. Excuse me. This needs to reprocess through that, which means you guys... Okay. Well, I was wondering if I was going to need to do that. That's going to be a pain in the tail. I was hoping that this would run a little better than that and not have me have to worry about hauling things back over here. Anyhow, essentially what we're doing here, the problem is the plutonium is, we're producing a little bit of plutonium every time we do that. We take one plutonium, a little bit of the depleted uranium that we're not making enough of right now, and turning that into MOX rods. MOX rods, have we burnt any yet? We still haven't burned any. Where are they? Oh, they're on the line. There they are. Yeah, we have a few MOX rods on the line, and as soon as that number will go up drastically as soon as we start turning this other one on. I will probably... Why don't you go ahead and... You did upgrade it. Okay, good. You're upgraded. You guys need to... While we're at it... I realize that's going to be some screwed up piping, but that's fine. Click. So you need to come from here to there. You need to get it connected to there. I know that's going to make an utter mess. And then these need to go up to there. I don't think it needs to be a... Yeah, 3 is fine. Downgrade, downgrade, get deleted, and get turned around. Yeah. This is all connected. Good. You guys build that for me now, please, too. We'll get that going. And I am going to do this for now. Because likely what will happen is we'll have both of these reactors running two little separate systems like this, and we'll see how they like it. I may do a little bit of modification between the two so that they're both running, but I think for right now, you guys can unpause. And we need to do the thing that I wasn't certain I was going to need to do, which is build a little bitty recapture system over here for this. Okay, I want at least one excavator. So we'll put a regular excavator on that, just immediately go ahead and build it, give it a second or two, and then I'm going to grab a couple of trucks. So 1, 2. You guys are going to get a export route. I'm going to have to put a bucket in over here, or a thing, a storage, I guess. I was hoping that would be enough, but apparently it is not going to be. Can you guys still get to things? If you do, good deal. Well, then I don't need the storage. Well, I need the storage. I know it's going to be kind of stupid to be hauling things back and forth, but what we can do is we can give this an export route to here as well, and then this will get an import route from this. And then what I want to do is I'm going to build this here. I had this planned out, and then I didn't do it because I saw the numbers thinking that the numbers were going to be enough, and they were not enough. Go ahead and unpause, please. Thank you. And we need I need a loose balancer here. Priority in on that one. Go. You guys build. And keep full. Okay. I suppose I probably could just run a belt around that and dump it into the back of that thing too. We'll leave it alone. We need to get this fixed now. We need stuff right now. What is wrong with you? Storage has export route. You don't have an export route. Why do I have an export route? Oh, that was from the other one because I copied it. Whatever. It's fine. Fix it. Did we get an excavator built? Nah, let's see. Alt? Not yet. The only reason why I'm doing that particular storage is so that you guys just get an idea of why you would use something like this. So if you wanted to, what you could use this instead is like you could have this holding gravel, rock, whatnot, and storing large amounts of rock instead of doing what I'm doing here in this kind of a situation. In this construction, you can store a lot more, early game, especially once you get those stackers. I forget when do those stackers show up. Stacker. So those stackers show up. Where is the storages? That's the reasoning why I believe you would care to use those, because those stackers show up fairly early in game, and they're even before the loose storage 2s. So again, like I said, if you wanted to store a massive amount of stuff on the ground before you get the ability to have these things, as long as you have an idea that you're going to have to use, an excavator and some trucks to move things from point A to point B, it's great. So that's why I'm using them for now. Plus, it gives you kind of a nice little visual of what, in reality would kind of happen. So where is my excavator? I need you over here, please. And then what we do is we give it a mining designation of eat all that, please. I think we're just outside on that last line. Doesn't really matter. And then what they'll do is they'll come over here and tear this down, put it in a truck, and put it in a storage. So as soon as he gets over here, we'll be able to see that. I think that is one thing I do like about these excavators. They are very quick to get from point A to point B compared to the other ones. Okay, I think they're digging. Yes, we've dug a little bit up, put it in a couple of trucks. That should have put it over here into here. Nice. So we're now back processing our plutonium into MOX rod fuel. Once this belt gets cleared up, I'm going to go ahead and then, why don't you get to work? Just clean that up real fast so that there's nothing sitting on that belt, because that stuff is pretty radioactive. This is one of those deals, I don't think it's going to cost a massive amount of problems over time, but it's one of those you do need to pay attention to it. I'm just going to say it like that. This will be able to produce 1 a minute. This is going to be able to consume 1 or 2 a minute, depending on whether you turn the boost on or not, but it does have a reasonably decent internal storage. The thing is you don't want you don't want this particular chemical plant to ever stop running. That's my point. You don't want it to ever stop running. So as soon as we're caught up, I'll kick the boost back off. We'll turn this back on, which will turn that line back on, and then we can start reprocessing our old waste fuels into a new fuel that we can use to power our reactor, which has got 40 MOX rods in it now, so we're running MOX rods. That's amazing. Okay, the MOX rods, I did go ahead and put out a little thing to sort things out, and it goes over here, and it works. So I'm going to let it run a little bit, and I'll be back. Alrighty, I think we can call this one good for the moment. I've got her fired up, running. I had to do a little bit of, stretching out all of the reprocessing for the reprocessed uranium so that they're across all of these facilities because, well, theoretically, these 4 can make the fuel for these 2, but these 2 are sitting here idling and doing a little bit of goofing around. So one of the things that I will suggest is to make sure you have at least 1 or 2 of your, so like say we're sitting here at a comfortable 70, we'll just say 70 megawatts of power right now, which is, a little more than what this one should be running continuously. Like that one did it right there. You're going to get to see it do it occasionally. What it's going to try to do is run up and down and keep itself comfortable and happy, but it is going to have issues occasionally trying to maintain, especially if you do a quick burst of power and then it drops right off. So like say, I don't want to have to shut everything off over here. Where is that thing? This boiler that's sitting over here doing the work for the paper. When that thing fires, it eats 4.5 megawatts of power right off the bat and then shuts off. It runs for 60 seconds and then it goes. And that causes this system over here to occasionally have to kind of do a couple of things. Now, you can kind of fiddle back and forth with this. So if I really wanted to, what I could do is I could put another one of these systems back on this over here and set, say, 2 of these to the lowest level and 2 of these to the lowest level, which I probably actually, makes a little bit of sense and should do. Let's just go ahead and do that for now. But you're essentially, if you're trying to keep them from wasting the coolant water that comes in here, i.e. this problem, what it does is if it does go over slightly, so like say we have this, we can watch it for a second, see what it does. So it's going to hammer down right now. We've got some power that it needs power, needs power, needs power. But did you notice how that this line jumps up? It's because the temperature is going down based on this little thing. If it crosses this red line, it will dump excess heat from its cooling. It's fine as long as it doesn't melt down or do too much of it. So as long as this does not go to the end of the bar and the thing realizes that it's got a problem, it won't, you'll be okay. So part of that is just going to be power management and whatnot down here. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and do this for now. Just go ahead and build those because I want to kind of do this adjustment on the fly to kind of show you guys what it'll do. Essentially what I want to do is I want those to spin up and spin these. And then I'm going to give it a pause. I'm going to set these to the same number as what these are. So I think those are 5s and these are, actually I need those to be 5s too. I want you guys all to be even. I want all the numbers to be even. Actually, let's just go ahead and do this. We're going to do 5s here, 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 and here, and here, and there, and there. And then I want this number, whatever this number is here, to be for this and this and this. Now that we have all these going, and what that's going to do is that's going to keep this silly little back and forth kind of going away, hopefully. it'll help it regulate it a little bit better. Considering we're always going to be using at least 60 megawatts of power, we can spread that 60 megawatts across all of these. Now, once we get to a point where we're absolutely using, say, 120 megawatts of power, or whatever one of these things can produce all of the time, that's the other thing too, is I need to check these. Everybody do it. We'll be fine. Not that I really care. I mean, for what it's worth, all you're doing with this is saving fuel. So yeah, it's not happy. It didn't. Yeah, see, it's. I'm having problems. But all it's doing right there is just venting excess cooling until it can get settled in. Once everything settles in, it should be fine. We're probably going to have to play with that a little bit. It dumps some stuff. That'll go away. And once I'm comfortable and happy with the way that these are running, you can take this depleted steam, plug it into the depleted steam line, and if it does need to run, it does need to run. I just like this idea to be able to see that I have a problem, because that steam is not going to be terrible unless we melt down. But this should settle out, and they'll eventually kind of get comfortable and kind of run back and forth and do what they need to do. I need them to stay up and high. I need them to stay up and running, but there. I think, for what it's worth, that is a comfortable, what is that, 15 times 8? 120 megawatts. Excuse me, 16. Do your math correctly, Frogman. 240 megawatts of reasonably efficient, easy to manage power that we're probably consuming a good amount of it through here. But that is a whole lot of power that we get to play with now, and that means I can officially, theoretically, get rid of this guy, so he can get paused and get sat. This whole system, before we end this little deal today, maybe in between episodes, maybe not, I don't know, it just all depends. This is going to get moved out of the way, likely, like I said, either over here or back over here. I kind of might put it right back here. I don't know exactly yet. But we are going to be moving it out of the way because I would like to use this surface area for probably a little bit more water. The other thing is I do have this routed in as a just in case. If we do have a massive problem, there are two things over here that can happen. This can go this direction as far as the excess waste steam coming off of this can go back over here and run these. Currently, right now, it's dedicated to go into here and should be running continuously to dump water into here to help us save a little bit of this. For what it's worth, I'm probably going to convert these over to the regular boilers. I know that's not the regular boilers, the powered boilers, because this is just a waste of coal usage at this point. From here on out, what we're going to start doing is moving away from basic little systems like that to stop burning coal, because the coal is going to be used and utilized for other things. So I suppose I'm fairly happy with this. I might even decorate it a little bit and see how it goes. In order to be able to do anything with the next layer, we're going to have to start doing things with this map and start thinking about building stuff. So I may or may not try to run a little bit of science. I don't really think we can. We've only got 23 people and these are all shut off. So I may have to build some more housing, which is going to mean I'm going to need to redo this stuff, I think, for the time being. Anyhow, I'm going to let this all run. I'm probably going to do a little bit of just mining and changing things around in the background, and I will see you guys all next time. I don't know what the new project is, but we're going to need more people first, so I suppose maybe we go back to working with people, or maybe we go do what I've finally been wanting to do, which is that thing. So I'll see y'all later. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.